Hi, today we're gonna learn about the learner-centered psychological principles. There are a total of 14 psychological factors which pertains to the learner and the learning process. These psychological principles are divided into four major categories. These are cognitive and metacognitive, motivational and affective, developmental and social, individual difference and factors. These categories will be furtherly discussed alongside with Alexander and Murphy's summary of the 14 principles. I'm Tricia May B. Iyala and I'm gonna discuss the cognitive and metacognitive factors.
I am Divine Hermosissima and I am going to tackle about motivational and affective factors. Hello everyone, I am Princess Tiameno and I will be discussing to you the third learner-centered psychological principle, which is the development and social factors.
Hi everyone, I'm Ina Vanessa Labares and I'm going to report the individual differences factors.
Good day, I am Cliffy Banry and I will be discussing the Alexander and Murphy's summary of 14 principles.
There are 6 principles under this category. First, nature of the learning process. Second, goals of the learning process. Third, construction of knowledge. Strategic thinking. Thinking about thinking. And lastly, context of learning. Nature of the learning process. It is the learning of complex subject matter. It is most effective when the learners process the information that they got from their experiences. Goals of the learning process. It can create meaningful, coherent representations of knowledge. The learning process of the learners are effective when the learners are able to apply the things that they've learned to themselves. Construction of knowledge can link new information with existing knowledge in meaningful ways. It is when the learners connect their newly learned information to their existing knowledge. Strategic thinking can create and use a repertoire of thinking and reasoning. The learners are able to think critically and reasoning to achieve complex learning goals. Thinking about thinking, beyond thinking, deepening of knowledge, or thinking beyond the box. Context of learning, influenced by environmental or external factors, such as culture, technology, and instructional practices.
The second category is the motivational and affective factors. Motivational factor is eagerness to do something, while affective factor is the attitude and values and the like. The first principle that is under this category is the seventh principle, which is the motivational and emotional influences on learning. What and how much is learned is influenced by the learner's motivation. Motivation to learn, in turn, is influenced by the individual's emotional states, beliefs, interests and goals, and habits of thinking. The rich internal world of thoughts, beliefs, goals, and expectations for success or failure can enhance or interfere with the learner's quality of thinking and information processing. So motivational and emotional factors affect the learning of students. So as future teachers, we can help our students by helping them avoid negative emotions and encourage them to strive so that they will be interested and motivated to learn. The second principle that is under this category is the eighth principle, which is intrinsic motivation to learn. The learner's creativity, higher order thinking, and natural curiosity all contribute to motivation to learn. Intrinsic motivation is stimulated by tasks of optimal novelty and difficulty, relevant to personal interests, and providing for personal choice and control. So curiosity, flexible and insightful thinking, and creativity are major indicators of the learner's intrinsic motivation to learn, which is in large part a function of meeting basic needs to be competent and to exercise personal control. So intrinsic motivation is a kind of motivation that comes from within. It is under the control of the learner. The third principle that is under this category is the ninth principle, which is effects of motivation and effort. Acquisition of complex knowledge and skills require extended learner effort and guided practice. Without learners' motivation to learn, the willingness to exert this effort is unlikely without coercion. So effort is another major indicator of motivation to learn. The acquisition of complex knowledge and skills demands the investment of considerable learner energy and strategic effort, along with persistence over time. So once you are motivated to learn, it can greatly impact the level of the effort you exert. So motivation is related to effort. The more motivated you are, the more effort you will give. And if you are not that motivated, you will just exert minimal effort.
The third psychological principle is development and social factors. Development and social factors includes development influence of learning and social influence of learning. First one is development influences. Developmental factors are occurrences that change an individual's complex relationship with their surroundings. These involve maturity standard factors, which are common life events that are based on chronological age. The child will face various possibilities as well as weaknesses in his learning as he grows. As teachers, it needs to take various aspects of progress into consideration while teaching, including physical, emotional, and social, in order to ensure that the students understand as best as possible. There are 6 influences of developmental learning. The first one is appropriateness of material. As a child grows, there would be a specific and suitable materials that are for them. A variety of materials that can accommodate differences in the abilities and desires of different children include developmentally suitable materials. Second is intellectual, social, emotional, and physical domains. Cognitive growth applies to thought and learning. Emotional growth refers to the capacity of a child to deal with anger and communicate their emotions. Social growth is similar to how students learn to connect well with others. Physical development in the brain and the body corresponds to growth. Third one is macro skills. Listening, reading, and writing in English language are most often referred to as macro skills. Listening is a technique of conversation that allows the listener to comprehend, perceive, and determine what he or she hears. The fourth one is prior or past experiences. Students have a diverse variety of cultures, learning opportunities, and past expertise and abilities. It is important for any individual's growth. Fifth influence is early and continuing parental. A parenting style known as sensitive parenting can better help the growth of children's cognitive and social skills required for later success in school. Responsiveness is an aspect of proactive parenting, identified as playing an important role in providing a solid base for optimal development for children. The last influence is awareness and understanding of development differences among children. At differing speeds, children grow and evolve. In various aspects of their development over time, it is common for children to undergo growth spurts and low spots. Whether, at certain age, the child is a little ahead or a little behind. This is usual. Social influences. This means that learning is influenced by social interactions, interpersonal relations, and communication with others. The social and personality growth of children develops from the presence of social factors, biological maturation, and the interpretations of the social environment and the self of the child.
The next major category is the individual differences factors. As we all know, learners are diverse. They have different backgrounds, race, language, and gender, and these differences applies to intelligence too. Some may be good in English but find it hard to cope up with numbers, while some may be good in math but bad in English. As a teacher, it is our duty to sustain the needs of our students and acknowledge that there is diversity in our four-cornered classroom, and we must take into account first the individual differences in learning. Now, learners have different styles and approach in learning. There are fast learners, normal learners, and those learners who takes longer time to fully understand the lessons. Some may learn faster when there are visual representations. Some also learn through auditory, and some learn when they can relate or have any experiences with the related topics. Now, all of these differences are caused by the individuality of every learners, may it be from their prior experience, heredity, environment, or even influences. As a teacher, we need to be sensitive to individual differences and need to attend to learners' perceptions of the degree to which these differences are accepted and adapted to by varying instructional methods and materials. That is why we notice how some of our teachers let us copy some writings of the boards, and they often drew some examples. Other teachers let us read loudly some part of our textbooks, and we often hear our other teachers giving us real-life examples. This is because they are using different strategies to highlight and give importance to the diversity of learning approach of the students. Next is the learning and diversity. The same basic principles of learning, motivation, and effective instruction apply to all learners. However, language, ethnicity, race, beliefs, and socioeconomic status all can influence learning. Let's say, for example, when a learner with a different ethnicity is put with those learners who are the same, will often get bullied and left out. And obviously, the learner who is different will not want to go to school anymore, and this will hinder them from learning. Another example is when a learner has different language and cannot understand the lessons because it was in another language which he or she didn't know and will learn nothing. That is why it is a must for every teacher to instill the importance of good behaviors and respect in every learner so that everyone will learn comfortably while free from judgments. And thus, every teacher shall teach using a common language in which all of the learners can understand. Because when learners perceive that their individual differences in abilities, backgrounds, cultures, and experience are valued, respected, and accommodated in learning tasks and context, levels of motivation and achievement are enhanced. Students hate assessments because they may find it tiring and unimportant, but we need to help them realize that assessment provides important information to both the learner and the teacher at all stages of the learning process. There are different types of assessment, and with every assessment, we have to set different standards because effective learning takes place when learners feel challenged to work towards appropriately high goals. Therefore, appraisal of the learner's cognitive strength and weaknesses, as well as current knowledge and skills, is important for the selection of instructional materials of an optimal degree of difficulty. Ongoing assessment of the learner's understanding of the curricular material can provide valuable feedback to both learners and teachers about progress toward the learning goals. Standardized assessment of learner progress and outcomes assessment provides one type of information about achievement levels both within and across individuals that can inform various types of pragmatic decisions. Performance assessment can provide other sources of information about the attainment of learning outcomes. self-assessment of learning progress can also improve students' self-appraisal skills and enhance motivation and self-directed learning. So those are the 14 learner-centered psychological principles, and as a summary, Alexander and Murphy gave a summary of the 14 principles.
Alexander and Murphy's summary of 14 principles. The Alexander and Murphy summary of 14 principles consists of 5 parts. First, the knowledge base. Second, strategic processing and control. Third, motivation and affective. Fourth, development and individual differences. And last, situation or context. The knowledge base. The learner's previous knowledge determines how they filter, analyze, and organize the new information or experience they receive. Based on this, they can also determine whether it's useful, relevant, or not. Strategic processing and executive control. Students can develop their own skills to analyze and monitor their thinking. They can also regulate their own train of thought and behavior to learn more effectively. Motivation and affect. Factors such as personal growth, personal commitment, personal involvement, intrinsic motivation, confidence, and control over learning lead to a better learning result. Development and individual differences. Learning is different for each individual, as each one of them is a product of unique capabilities, experiences, environmental and genetic circumstances. Situation or context. Learning happens in different situations or contexts. Just like what Lambert and McCombs said, learning is a social process. Many environmental factors, including how the instructor teaches and how actively each student is in the learning process, positively or negatively influences how much and what students learn.